the noise of the world and the silence of the soul. We live in the age of noise. Not only the noise of cars, notifications, and voices, but the inner noise. Scattered thoughts, borrowed desires, comparisons, the anxiety for recognition. The philosopher Seneca once said, "No wind is favorable to the one who doesn't know where he's going." And that's exactly what distractions do to us. They turn the navigator into a castaway. You wake up with a purpose, but throughout the day, small waves, messages, opinions, other people's urgencies, pull you off course. Before you know it, you're tired, busy, yet haven't truly moved forward. Tornado, the invisible trap. Modern distractions don't just steal time. They hijack attention, and where your attention goes, your life follows. Aristotle taught that excellence is not an act, but a habit. And habit requires focus, consistency, and presence. But how do you cultivate focus in a world that profits from your distraction? Every click, every scroll, every notification is designed to capture your time, the most valuable asset you have. The result is a cycle of reactivity in which you live responding to the world instead of creating your own. Compass, the philosophy of purpose. Purpose isn't something you find. It's something you build, step by step, through conscious decisions. Nietzsche said that he who has a why can endure any how. But the why only reveals itself to those who have the courage to silence the noise and listen to their own voice. The voice the world teaches you to ignore. Ask yourself, what in my life is essential? And what is merely distraction disguised as importance? That question is the beginning of liberation. The path of presence. To live with purpose, you must practice presence. It doesn't mean escaping the world, but being fully there in every act. When you read, read. When you work, work. When you love, love. The fragmentation of attention destroys the power of being. The philosopher Epictetus said, "No one is free until he can master himself." And mastery begins when you choose where to place your energy. Silence is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of self. In a world where everyone speaks, few truly listen. And it is in listening, especially to oneself, that clarity is born. Plato once said that the beginning of wisdom is wonder. But how can we wonder at anything if we are constantly distracted? If our minds are always occupied with reacting? Wonder requires pause. Silence is that pause. Crescent moon, the invisible weight of inner noise. Much of modern anguish comes from excess of information, of stimulation, of borrowed desires. We live as if the value of life were measured by how many windows we can keep open, when, in truth, wisdom lies in knowing which ones to close. Inner noise is like an echo. It repeats the world's voices until we mistake them for our own. It's the fear of judgment, the craving for approval, the constant comparison. But none of this belongs to your essential being. It is only dust on the surface of consciousness. To see the bottom of a lake, the water must become still. Likewise, to see the truth within yourself, the mind must become silent. The discipline of silence. Silence is not something you seek. It's something you cultivate. It grows from small daily choices. Avoiding unnecessary noise. Resisting the urge to have an opinion about everything. Observing before reacting. Allowing the emptiness to speak. Seneca said, "Nothing is more powerful than a calm mind." And that calmness is not a gift of the wise. It's a practice for everyone, every day. Each time you refrain from reacting immediately, each time you breathe before you act, you strengthen your mastery over yourself. The return to essence. In silence, you discover something the world can never give you. Your own frequency. It is there that purpose, intuition, and true strength reside. Silence is the fertile ground where the soul creates meaning. It's not about escaping life. It's about listening to it in its purest form. It's realizing that behind all the noise, there is a constant invitation to return inward. Ask yourself, when was the last time I was silent without feeling uncomfortable? What speaks louder in me, my essence or the echo of the world's expectations? In silence, there are no masks, only the self face to face with itself. And that is where true transformation begins. Attention is the most valuable currency of the 21st century. Everything that seeks to control you, companies, ideologies, addictions, distractions, doesn't want your money first. It wants your attention. Because whoever controls your attention controls your reality. Round pushpin, the direction of consciousness. William James, the father of modern psychology, once said, "My experience is what I agree to attend to." This means that the world you see is shaped by where you place your focus. If you focus on fear, you'll see threats. If you focus on gratitude, you'll see possibilities. The external world is a reflection of the internal state of your consciousness. But here lies the paradox. We live surrounded by stimuli constantly competing for that consciousness. Social media, the news, the rush, all train your brain for distraction. And the more distracted you are, the more vulnerable you become. A fragmented mind is easily led. Gear attention as creative power. The ancient philosophers knew that to think is to create. Everything that exists, a work, an idea, a destiny, began as a single point of attention held with consistency. Attention is the sun that makes the seed of intention grow. Yet most people waste this power. They jump from thought to thought, from goal to goal, never staying long enough to create transformation. As Confucius said, "The man who chases two rabbits catches neither." To concentrate is a spiritual act. It's choosing a direction and saying to the universe, "This is where I place my energy." Compass training conscious focus. Focus is not something you have. It's something you practice. You build it when you decide to. Be fully present in each action, without dividing yourself. Limit what you consume, choosing quality over quantity. Allow boredom, for emptiness is the cradle of creativity. Observe your thoughts without following them. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, wrote in his journals, "The mind becomes unconquerable when it confines itself to what is within its control. Everything else is noise. Attention is love. To pay attention is the purest act of love. When you give your presence to someone, to your work, to a moment, you are saying, 'This matters.' And what matters flourishes under an attentive gaze. Likewise, what is ignored withers. So choose wisely what deserves your attention, because that is where your life will grow abundant. Ask yourself, where am I investing the currency of my attention? Do my actions reflect what I truly value, or what the world pushes me to value? Am I creating consciously, or merely reacting to what surrounds me? The power of life doesn't lie in controlling time, but in directing attention. Time is neutral, attention is what turns it into meaning. When you master your attention, the world no longer distracts you. It begins at last to serve you. Everyone desires freedom, but few understand that it doesn't come from the absence of rules. It comes from mastery over oneself. The true prison is not outside, but within, in uncontrolled desires, enslaving habits, and silent emotions that rule us. Seneca once said, "To be a slave to oneself is the worst form of captivity." And that is exactly what happens when we confuse freedom with doing whatever we want. Freedom is not doing everything. It is having the power to choose what truly matters and sustain that choice. Fire the illusion of instant freedom. We live in an age that sells freedom in packages of quick pleasure. Clicks, dopamine, consumption, distraction. But that kind of freedom is like sugar, sweet in the moment, poisonous in the long run. Every impulsive pleasure reinforces dependence on the next, and the mind becomes a trained animal, reacting to stimuli. The result? We call freedom what is actually escape. We run from silence, from effort, from discomfort. And in doing so, we also run from ourselves. Crossed swords, discipline as the path of the soul. Discipline is not rigidity, it is direction. It is the invisible thread that guides the conscious being through the temptations of chaos. It is saying no to what weakens you so that you can say yes to what builds you. Nietzsche wrote, "Become who you are." But that becoming demands sacrifice. The sacrifice of immediate comfort for higher purpose. The sacrifice of fleeting pleasure for integrity. The sacrifice of noise for depth. The price of freedom is self-mastery. And self-mastery does not come from force, but from clarity. From knowing who you are, what you want, and why you walk this path. Sunrise over mountains, the silent victory. The disciplined person is not cold, they are free. Free from the chains of distraction, fear, and indecision. They are like the archer who, before releasing the arrow, takes a deep breath and aligns the mind with the target. Their strength lies not in the bow, but in presence. Every conscious choice is a declaration of freedom. Every coherent action is a step toward mastery. And when discipline becomes natural, effort transforms into peace. Urge freedom as a state of being. In the end, freedom is not a destination. It is a state of being. It is living in accordance with your truth, without needing to prove anything to the world. It is acting with purpose, speaking with integrity, and walking lightly. Because nothing within you is in conflict. The disciplined soul is quiet but powerful. It doesn't need to conquer the world, only itself. Ask yourself, what in me still seeks pleasure when I should be seeking purpose? What do I need to discipline to achieve my freedom? Am I being guided by my essence, or by my impulses? Discipline does not kill pleasure. It purifies it. And in that balance between control and surrender, the human being finally finds what they have always sought: true freedom.